You have to be open to feedback. And when you open yourself up to feedback, here's what I want you to do. And here's what's going to make it so much easier to receive feedback. You have to detach from the emotion. You have to detach not just from the negative emotions that you feel, but also from the positive. So somebody saying, oh my God, that's a really good job, right? That positive reinforcement. You have to detach from that as well. So everything, you look at everything as just data. All the feedback that you receive from the content you put out, from the projects that you are working on and telling people about, all that is feedback, is data. Hey guys, it's Dr. Sonia here with Jump First. I've helped hundreds of creative entrepreneurs and business owners to take back their free time, generate additional revenue, and celebrate while living that work from anywhere lifestyle through creating online courses and digital education. So I'm super excited that you are here. Say it with me. Done is better than perfect. Master one thing at a time. Practice makes better. And this has to work. Right? Let's get it. Episode 2, your first 30 days in the arena. So first of all, welcome to episode 2 of In the Arena with Dr. Sonia. If you are just joining again, go ahead, type it into the chat, your name, where you're tuning in from. I always like to know who is currently here. While you're doing that, I want to introduce myself. In case you don't know me, my name is Dr. Sonia. I have helped high performers, C-suite executives, entrepreneurs, people who know they have more to offer the entire world, not just like your local neighborhood vicinity, okay? But you want to go global. I've been helping people do that for years now and turn what they know into premium programs so they create legacy and more impact and make a profit, okay, in the process. All right, let's get into it. So there are a lot of people who are sitting on the stands, and this is one of the reasons I created In the Arena, because people are researching, people are planning, people are waiting for the perfect moment, waiting to feel ready. And I know that because I have been there. The transformation, though, the legacy, the impact, the profit that you want to make is not built in the stands. It's built in the arena. Okay. You got to get out of the stands and get in the arena. And so that's what this show is about. Every Tuesday, Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern time, I will be live and we'll talk about exactly what it takes to actually step into the arena, to build something that matters, to share your wisdom, to create life-changing businesses and brands, okay? Not just that you've been dreaming about, but that you actually have been planning about, okay? So let's talk about that. Welcome to the arena again. This is where the transformation happens. So let's get into it today, all right? Now, here's the thing about stepping into the arena. Last episode, we talked about what the arena actually is, right? And again, how you have to get out of the stands, step into the arena in order to make things happen instead of continuing to plan and process and all of those things. But this, once we step into the arena, it's like, okay, what exactly happens? This is the moment. Like, it's a defining moment for so many people. Either we are going to allow the momentum forward to carry us, and unfortunately, a lot of people, what ends up happening is people talk themselves out of the action that they said they were going to take. Okay. So they talk themselves back into the stands, essentially spectating their lives. So I want to share with you what exactly happens in the next 30 days after you make a choice to step into the arena. Number one, we're going to segment it out like days 1 through 10, right? 11 through 20, and then days like 21 through 30. So I'll walk you through the entire flow and I'll tell you some things, some practical things I'll give you that you can actually implement tonight, okay, to get started and get flowing. So the first thing that happens is there is an identity shift. So this typically happens days like 1 through 10, right? Now, here's how I like to think of it. I like to think of it as you can't operate a new program on an old operating system. Okay, so you can't run a new program in an old operating system. I like to think of it like a laptop, like a computer. I have a laptop right now that's not doing what I needed to do. Just bought it. I don't like it. I don't know what's going on. Brand new laptop. Okay, but let's think about it in terms of like if I was using the same laptop I had 5 years ago, but I was trying to run a program that had been created and developed for 2026. All right, it may work on the computer, but not efficiently, meaning it may run slow, things may lag behind, okay? And it wouldn't run as efficiently as it would if I just updated the program, all right? Updated the system that it's actually running on. This also happens a lot of times. I don't know if you're like me, but high performers, we have 50 tabs open at one time, sometimes more than that. I won't say anything. All right. And what ends up happening is we put it off. Like even the computer will say, hey, you want to run an update. Hey, either the browser needs to be shut down and restarted in order to update, or your entire computer needs to be shut down and restarted in order to update. And how many times have we hit snooze or put it off until the next day? And it's like, oh my goodness. Well, the system would actually be running more efficiently if we would just take a moment, take a second to actually allow it to restart. That's it. So there's this identity shift that happens when you first step into the arena, when you decide to go all in on that thing that you've been thinking about. This shift has to happen because we can't run this new program on an outdated identity, okay, or operating system. And that's just it. So it's like, who do you need to be in order to do the work? You have to become the person you need to be so that you can do the work. I often think of this as, I know a lot of people talk about mindset shifts and how you have to shift your mind before you can actually become this new version of yourself. But I look at it a little differently. I believe that if you start acting, if you start performing the things that person would do, your mindset actually follows the performance, right? So if you start taking yourself out of places that you currently frequent, as in the current identity or the old identity, the old operating system, and you start stepping into new places, like you start to evaluate, how are you showing up? How are you dressing? How are you speaking? What places are you going to? Who is it that you're hanging around? Do those places, people, things match the identity of the person you need to shift into in order to have the dream, right? In order to achieve the goal, in order to get the thing that you're working towards. If not, you can change that now. You don't have to wait until next month or next year or next week. A lot of people put it off. Oh, I'll start on Monday. I know I've said that about diets. I've said that about so many things. I'll start on Monday. I'll start next month. Oh, this month is almost over. I'll just wait until the first of the month, or then it becomes the year, right? This year is almost over. I'll just wait until next year. You don't have to put it off. You can start that identity shift, the work that you need to do today. Okay. And it just starts with evaluating who you are currently being versus the person you need to be in order to have the results that you're looking for. So instead of waiting for the results, you're actually claiming the identity, right, of that person. So the identity of a course creator. If you're looking to create courses, of course, I'm biased in that regard. I'm always going to talk about courses, okay? If you're looking to step into being a CEO or having your own business or being a thought leader, it's not waiting until after you have those results, right? Until after you see the tangible things. It's actually claiming the identity now, and the results will always follow. So it's like going to the gym. You don't wait to be in shape to go to the gym, right? You go to the gym and then the results start to come. But in order to get to the gym, you have to assume the identity of someone who likes to work out, who likes to exercise, who likes to eat properly, right? All of those things. So it's about claiming the identity of course creator, all right? Premium course creator, before you have the results, not waiting until after. So that's days 1 through 10 is stepping into the identity. There's an identity shift that happens when you step into the arena. It has to happen. Otherwise, you're going to talk yourself back into the stands, and that's not what we want. All right. Number 2 is when we start to go into days 11 through 20. So after we start shifting identity, we start going different places, we start hanging with different people, we start dressing a little differently, right? We start sounding differently to ourselves. This has happened to me quite often, quite a few times throughout this journey of entrepreneurship, where I'm like, okay, who's that? Hey girl, right? When you start doing things differently, you start showing up differently. So then it becomes this necessity to stay consistent with showing up, right? Because then you become more visible. People start asking questions. Maybe the people that you are used to hanging around, okay, or people who are used to seeing you in a different way. And a lot of times this has to do with family members, friends, okay, a lot. But also just places that you're frequenting, places that you're frequently going or frequenting, right? So it's showing up even when it feels uncomfortable. And for a lot of course creators specifically, that's social media. That's showing up online. But here's my thing about social media, pro tip for your courses, it's free right now. It is literally free to advertise your business, market your business, right? And there's a difference between advertising and marketing. We'll save that for a later episode. But it's new, especially when you're stepping into social media for the first time, right? Or you're like, I don't really like it. I don't know what are people going to think about me? This is the discomfort. But here's my thing. And I remember I had this client who I would talk to her about showing up on social media. True story. A lot of my clients feel this way. But I would talk to her about showing up on social media. And she told me, well, my problem isn't really like caring about what people will think about me. But if we're honest with ourselves, and that's one of the reasons that I created my business in the first place, because let's get real, a lot of high performers, high achievers, there aren't a lot of spaces cultivated where we can really talk about the things that we're thinking or feeling in real life. A lot of high performers, high achievers have had an expectation and grown up with an expectation is instilled from like young, right? Whether it's environmental, family members, friends, traditional education. Then we get into the workforce, right? The workplace. Traditional education is designed to prepare us and socialize us into the workforce. So it's a whole thing. Like we have these moments all throughout our lifetimes where we're not really in a space where we get to be vulnerable, right? We get to be, and I say that for my high performers because there's a perfectionism there. There's like sort of this type A personality. There is sort of, and it's trained. And the reason I cultivated this space was because I know that, I understand that, I realize that. And a lot of times we do care about what people think, all right, how people are going to judge us, what people are going to say, but we don't have spaces where we are really allowed or feel comfortable admitting those things. And so I wanted to create a space where there is no judgment, but what needs to be said needs to be said. And we need to start naming these feelings, these emotions, what it is that we're actually thinking. And we need to feel safe in a space to be able to do that, because once we get it out, then we can move forward. Okay. So there's going to be some discomfort days 11 through 20 because you're going to be doing things differently. You're going to see things differently. You're going to be speaking differently. You're going to be establishing different boundaries. Okay. And people are going to feel that. People are going to see that. But here's what happens when you start showing up as you. All right. And that was the question I asked to my client who was like, I don't care what people say about me. I've never cared about what people think about me. And I'm like, well, let's be for real, okay? In this space, if you didn't care, you would be on social media. You would have no problem putting your content out there, saying how you feel. And she's like, that's true, right? So we had to do the work to really actually name what it was and shift the identity. So days 11 through 20 require you to show up consistently, even when it feels uncomfortable. And what ends up happening when you start creating content, there starts to become this space, you get into this groove of comfortability, because instead of looking around at what everybody else is saying and doing, which we have a tendency to do, so not just high performers but just as people in general, right? Instead of looking around at what everybody else is doing, you start leaning into your own story. And when you start finally leaning into your own story, you talk about the things that you've been through, things that you've overcome, places that maybe you had struggles and challenges, but you've been able to learn from your mistakes, apply the knowledge, turn it into wisdom. And to be able to talk about that, you'll find that your content starts to write itself. And instead of you putting it up against somebody else, some other creator's content, or what anybody else is doing online, you start to relate your story to your audience. So two things happen when you start showing up more consistently as yourself, okay? As your true self, not like this representative that we send into the world sometimes, all right? Your content starts to write itself. You lean into your own story. No, who's going to know your story? Who really can judge your story? Nobody. Nobody else has lived it. Nobody else has experienced it, right? So who's going to tell you that your story is wrong, or your perspective is wrong, or how you see the world is just wrong, right? Nobody can do that. Once you're able to start relating your story to your audience, which means you have to know your audience, right? Inside and out. And I'm not talking about just the demographic stuff. I'm not talking about just age and salary and where they live. I'm talking about, who are they? What are those conversations? The same way as I just said, right? Those conversations that we're having in our heads that we don't really talk about. How can you cultivate spaces to be able to help your prospects, your audience, your leads start to feel more comfortable sharing with you some of their challenges, some of their stories, some of what they're going through, so that again, you create and cultivate this space? That's really what premium courses are about. It's not just about creating this space of information where I come and I consume the information and then, okay, I can go do something with it, right? It's not really about that. Your premium spaces and premium courses are spaces where people have an opportunity to kind of like take the armor off, right? To really show up as who they are, and for you to be able to mentor and coach people through to get a result, to get a specific transformation. Transformation can't happen if we aren't real, okay, about where we currently are, what we're currently experiencing, and being able to shift the identity. That's real transformation. It's really an identity shift. Okay. Now, I will say that days 11 through 20 are where most people quit. They give up right before this breakthrough happens. So it's kind of like investing in anything. Okay. Let's say investing in yourself. Let's say you invest 20K to work with a coach. So I invest, let's say $20,000 to work with a coach. Well, my first month, I don't make any money. Okay. Or my first few weeks, I don't make any money. Or better example, I'll give you a real life example. So let's say you invest 20K to work with a coach. First month, you make 5K. You're still sitting at a loss, right? Of 15K. So you're like, all right, that's cool. Made some money back, but also like, where's the rest of the investment? I'm still sitting at a loss. Month two, let's say you make 10K. So you've made 15K of the 20K you invested, still sitting at a loss, right? But what happens is, let's say month three, you make $2,500. Okay, we're still sitting at a loss of about $2,500. So what are we doing? Now, most people will give up. Okay, by this point, most people would give up after month one, month two, definitely month three, right? And if someone's not seeing any results, most people will give up way before that, like so quickly. But what happens if you stay through month three? You're still sitting at a loss, but let's say month four, you break through, okay? And now you made 30K this month. Now what? Right? That's motivation enough to keep going. But most people do not make it to that point because they're not seeing the results that they actually want months one, two, and three. They feel like they're sitting at a loss constantly. Identity shifting takes work. It requires you to be uncomfortable. It requires you to let go of the things that have been familiar to you and step into the new. And usually when you step into the new, everything seems like it's breaking down. Like everything seems like it's breaking all at one time. Okay, is, oh my gosh, what's happening over here? What's happening over there? I'm doing this new thing. I said yes, I committed. I am all the way in. I am here, but everything around me feels like it's breaking down, right? And that's usually why people give up. So we got to make it past days 11 through 20 in order to start to see the traction and start to have that breakthrough, right? And maybe the breakthrough doesn't come at day 20, but there's this stick to itness because you got to find another reason for why you want to do this. It can't really be anything external, because if you look at just external stuff, a lot of that is motivation. It has to be internal. It has to be inspiration. What is the why? Why are you doing this? And we hear people say this all the time. What's your big why? Why do you want to do this thing? And it's deeper than just knowing why. It's actually having a cause, having a reason. Like there has to be an inspiration, or else there's no stick to itness. It's impossible. If you're depending on something outside of you to constantly be motivating you towards what it is that you want, what happens when you remove the stimulus? What happens when that thing goes away? Then what? Right? We're back at square one. So again, most people are giving up. So if we stick to it, days 21 through 30 is just the offer. This is where you start to build things out. Now, the reason that we go 21 to 30, days 21 to 30, and focus on the offer, we have to have the identity shift in place first. Like it has to happen. You also have to have a commitment to the visibility, a commitment to a stick to itness, okay? in that next 11 to 20 days. Like these are foundational things that have to be in place before we can even think about, okay, how do we sell an offer? Because have you ever like, let me back up for a second. Have you ever seen someone introduce a product or service online and they're talking about it maybe once every week or 2 times a week, right? Maybe they talked about it 2 or 3 times, and if they didn't get the results that they wanted in a short amount of time, and I'm talking like the first 5 days, then they stopped talking about it. I know you've seen it because I've seen it. It's everywhere. They stopped talking about it because it didn't kick off or it didn't hit right like they thought it would. They thought they could post about it one time and everybody was going to be like, yes, I want this thing. And when you don't see the traction, or when they don't see the traction, they kind of like fade. You never hear about it again. That's what happens when people give up right before the breakthrough. So if you're going to put together an offer, days 21 through 30, you have to pre-sell it, okay, before you actually build it. That's the easiest piece. That's a pro tip. The easiest piece is pre-selling it before you build it. This is how you get data points. This is also how you get out of your own way, because a lot of people are perfecting in isolation. This is also one of the reasons people give up. Perfecting in isolation means you don't have enough data points, okay, to actually tell if what it is that you're building is needed or wanted by the audience you wish to serve. You're constantly trying to perfect the thing, brand colors, websites, you're hiring people ahead of the seasons that you're currently in, right? And so I say this because I know it. I've done it. Lost a lot of money doing it this way, which is why I teach building it backwards. So you're focused on all these things that aren't income generating. They're not impact generating. You don't have clients, to go through or to click on the website. You're not talking about it enough on social media. You're not telling people about what it is that you're doing. So you can't collect feedback. And this really ties into the ego and the mindset around high performers, high achievers. I'm saying it because I know it, okay, very well. You have to be open to feedback. And when you open yourself up to feedback, here's what I want you to do. And here's what's going to make it so much easier to receive feedback. You have to detach from the emotion. You have to detach not just from the negative emotions that you feel, but also from the positive. So somebody saying, oh my God, that's a really good job, right? That positive reinforcement. You have to detach from that as well. So you look at everything as just data. All the feedback that you receive from the content you put out, from the projects that you are working on and telling people about, all that is feedback, is data. Okay, so detach your emotion from it. I'll give you a real life example. This just happened to me. So I had someone comment on one of my clients' testimonial ads. So I'm running ads, of course. Pro tip for your courses: you do not need ads initially. Please don't do that. That's one of those things I just talked about. Non-income generating activities, depending on the season you're in. Okay, it can be income generating, revenue generating, but you have to be in that season for scaling something that already has data points, that is already seasoned and ready to go. Okay, and I'll get to that in a second. I had someone comment on an ad that I'm currently running. One of my clients, she's talking about her testimony, her results, right? She's giving her testimonial, and somebody was like, scammer. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute, right? Now, mind you, if I had seen this post or this comment maybe 4 years ago, 6 years ago, I'll say about 6 years ago, 2 years or so into my business, if I had seen it then, it probably would have sent me spiraling for a week, maybe 3 weeks, maybe a month. I don't know. It would have sent me spiraling though, and I really would have felt a way about it. I may have, been angry or cried or whatever. At this point in my business, right, I see everything as data. So I'm not as affected by it. You see what I'm saying? Like, you remove your emotion from it. Now, I'm not saying there aren't going to be points and times, we're all human, where things will affect you, of course. But when you detach the emotion and you go, okay, this is data. What is this telling me? I just deleted the comment. Okay, because first of all, you are not going to be all up on my ads that I pay for, all right, discouraging people who this will inspire and encourage. Second of all, you are probably somebody, a lot of people get mad at other people for doing things that they wish they could. It's not even that they can't do it. So I guess things that they wish they would, okay? People get mad at people and they start hating on people who are doing things that they wish they would do, right? Because they can. Anybody can do anything. But it's about your mindset. It's about how you approach things. It's about the identity shift. And so I sent love to that person, right? I sent a prayer. I was like, Lord, touch them. Right? And also, I hit the delete button. But I also started looking at it from a data perspective. So, what did that tell me? That had me go check out my ads, my audience for my ads. Where is it delivering to? Who is it delivering to? Because that person is not my intended audience. So if I look at everything as data, I'm able to problem solve, I'm able to find solutions instead of focusing and dwelling on the emotion that would be attached, okay, to whatever the problem is. Because again, I could have been spiraling. 6 years ago would have probably been. For real. I took everything to heart. Like, oh my gosh, they hate what I'm putting out. They don't like what I'm doing. When you again remove emotion from it, you detach from the emotion, you can see it as data. And then you can find a solution for anything. So that's the power of collecting data versus perfecting things in isolation. And you definitely don't want to be perfecting your premium courses in isolation. You want feedback, you want data points. And that brings me to this last point. In 21 to 30 days, most of my clients are doing somewhere between 5 to 10K in their first 21 to 30 days, right? So this is the power of pre-selling. The first client that you enroll, or the first peep in a seat that you get, the first student you get inside of your course, is proof of concept. It means that this thing that you are building, people want the offer, people relate and resonate with your story. Okay, so your content is working. What you're doing is working. You do not have to have the whole course put together before you pre-sell it either. Okay, it's really about how do you stay visible? How do you also be consistent in the discomfort? All right, to stay visible. Collect the data points. Are you applying the data points? Once you get your first client, again, it's proof of concept, everything's going to build from there. So it's rinse and repeat. Rinse and repeat, okay? Because if you did it one time, you could do it again. And then you just tweak as you go. So rinse and repeat, and then you tweak it. All right. And I like that. Rinse and repeat, and then you tweak it. And then you just keep building that way. Again, it starts with one course, one pre-sale. You build out the course, you teach it. All you need is one sale, okay? One client enrolled, and then you continue to build on that. You rinse and repeat it. Does that make sense? Okay. It took me a minute to really realize this. Like, I had to take a look, if I'm being honest, I had to take a look at how were university courses. So I remember I was teaching university for a while, and then I started developing university and college courses. And I was like, how do they know what course comes next? Like, how do they know what courses they want me to develop? And so I had to sit down and put my thinking cap on, as they say, right? And use all my brain power. And I was like, let me figure out, what are the elements here? Well, the element is just surveys. It's data. Okay, this is like what it blows my mind now because it seems so simple, but it's just like, it's these little things that most people overlook. That's just like, oh my God, that's the key to a lot of things. So they just survey their students, right? So I was giving students surveys in the middle of our semester, and I was giving student surveys at the end of the semester. And we would collect those surveys and review them. And so I would sit on the board and review them. And oh, that's how we're coming up with what course is next, or what we should develop, or what needs to be changed or tweaked, right? Everything is data. Detach your emotion. Look at the data. I would even say you could do this in shifting identity too, right? It's like, if you detach from, this is happening in my world, or this is happening to me. I know we like talk about it all the time, or you've probably heard it. I say it all the time. And there's a shift here that's coming, right? Things aren't happening to you, they're happening for you. You've heard that saying, right? Things aren't happening to you, they're happening for you. In order to get to the for you part, you got to detach the emotion. That's it. That's the for you part. When you detach your emotion from things, you can see more clearly where the solution or what needs a solution. Where can I find the solution? How can I not, you don't even have to think of like, how can I figure this out? How can I get out of this? It's like, oh, here's the solution to that. You think more clearly when you detach the emotion. So everything is data. Even your identity shift is data. Oh my God, this thing is happening over here. Well, let me remove the emotion for a second. Let me look at it like objectively for a second. Sometimes we're so close to things that we can't. And so this is the reason we need data points, multiple data points. This is the reason that we talk about and tell our story. This is the reason we show up and talk to ideal clients and customers, okay, prospects and leads and our audience so they can give us feedback. Oh, they didn't like that piece of content. Cool. And it's not about vanity metrics. Because here's the other thing, too. When you start shifting identity and you really strip down, like, here, why am I thinking that? Why do I feel that way? Let me not lie about how I actually feel. Let me not lie about what I'm actually thinking. And you get real with yourself and you understand who it is that you are. Again, detaching the emotion. Okay. Like, that's exactly what this is. Then you start to, I don't know why they came out sing-songy. When you detach the emotion, though, and you really understand who you are, the identity shift becomes so much easier, right? And you can really start to see things for what they are. And you can really start to see, okay, well, my audience is not about validation from the outside. I don't need them to like it. Your pro tip for your course is a lot of your premium buyers, not likers, right? They're lurking. They may not like your content. I mean, like physically like, hit the like button. They may not comment on your content. Like, this is why we don't measure the success of content, especially in my classes and programs. We don't measure the success of our content by how many likes it has. Okay. We don't, or how many comments it has. That's unnecessary, because I will be honest with you, many of, not, I shouldn't say many, but quite a few of my clients and students have told me like, hey, I wasn't following you before I joined your program. And they think it's like, they approach it as such a like a bombshell, right? Like I think their expectation is for me to go, what? But we just laugh about it, right? They're like, I have a confession to make. I wasn't following you before I joined your program, right? But I was looking, I was watching. There are people who will go to the search bar every day and type in your handle or username to see what you're up to or what you posted. Not to be a hater, not to be a hater at all. They're just lurking. That's what premium buyers do. And then it will look like overnight they just made a decision. Like, oh my God, they just joined my program. Like, no, they've been watching you. They've been studying. Okay. They see you showing up. And this is why it's so important to stay consistent in the visibility and in the discomfort of visibility, because it does become uncomfortable. But so what? Anytime you're doing anything new, it's going to be uncomfortable. When you're shifting an identity and you're like, think about it. A lot of us have been running on autopilot, running the same program, okay, over and over on autopilot for years, decades, even. Okay. When you go to change the program, what happens? Right? Things are discombobulated. You feel out of sorts. You are extremely uncomfortable. What is this place? Where am I at? What is going on? You ever get into a good deep sleep and you wake up, you are asleep at home, but you wake up and you're like, where am I at? Right? Like, it was that good. I don't know, but I get some good sleep like that sometimes. And so it's like that, right? It's like, you've been doing this thing for the past 20 years, 30 years, and now you want to do something different. Your body, your mind is like, what's this? Right? I don't know what this is. And then the people around you are like, who are you? We never seen you before. Right? So it becomes uncomfortable. But if you stick with it, if you stay with it, you will eventually move past the discomfort. And then that space becomes normal. Right? And then there's a next level up. There's always a level up. There's always like an evolution, right? There's always something new. We are designed that way. We are equipped to create. All right. And so there will always be something new. If you are not growing, you're what? Dying, right? So we want to continue moving forward. All right. So I'm going to recap real quick, because this is so important for being in the arena. Like now that you made the decision to get out of the stand, stop spectating your own life and actually get in the arena and build the thing that you've been thinking about, dreaming about, planning for, researching. Like now here's what's going to happen next. For the next 30 days, the first 10 days, days 1 through 10, there's an identity shift. So you have a new program now, but it needs to run on a new operating system. So you're going to have to shift the places you go, how you dress, how you show up. All of those things are going to change. You got to be the person. And I always say this, it's not about writing a new chapter. No. Start a new book. Who said you can't do that? You can start a whole new book right now today. Today is May 7th. It is 8:36 p.m. where I'm at. Right now today, a whole new book. Don't have to wait until June. Don't have to wait until 2027. Don't have to wait until Monday. You can start right now. How does this person show up? The person on the new operating system with the new program, and be new me, okay? All day. It's a new chapter. Excuse me, it's a new book, all right? Not a new chapter. We closing the book and we're starting a new one, all right? And that's it. So you become the identity of what you want before you have the results. You cannot wait until after you have the results. Again, the example I gave earlier, that would be like waiting until you're in shape, the shape that you want, the figure that you want, okay, to go to the gym. Doesn't work that way. You have to become the person who wants to go to the gym, eat what they need to eat, okay, do what they need to do in order to see the results. Always. It works when you want to be a course creator, a premium course creator, a CEO, a new business owner, a thought leader in your space, whatever it is, you assume the identity, okay? You are that person now. And then you move how you need to move and the results will follow. Always. It's like law. You can't mess that up. Like that will always be the case. The second leg of this, right, days 11 through 20, is commitment to visibility, commitment to being seen, whether it's online or offline. You have to commit to being that person, all right? It's going to be uncomfortable, but if you are committed, everything will flow from that. And if you're afraid of being seen on social media, the content starts to write itself when you lean into your story. That's the pro tip. Lean into your story. Also know your audience. That's the second thing. First, lean into your story. Like, be for real about who you are. Don't look for the outside validation. It's not necessary. It's who you are. We aren't doing it for that reason anyway, right? We're not doing it for the validation of other people. We're doing it because we know that our story, through our stories, somebody else's breakthrough is there. So we have to create this impact. So when you know your audience, that's the second piece of this. So you lean into your story first. You start to develop some comfort around, and maybe it'll still be uncomfortable, but you start to get in a groove, I should say, right? Of telling your story, leaning into your story. And then you know your audience. So then you just start to relate the parts of your story to your audience, because we are never the only people who went through something. Like, we're not. We have a unique perspective about how we went through it. The characters are different, right? What we saw may be different. What we heard may be different, or how we heard it. But somebody else is going through something or has gone through something similar and can relate to some aspect of your story. So when you start telling your story and leaning into your story, then you relate parts of your story to your audience, to the people you really want to help and serve. And that's where the connection starts to come. Now, again, this could take some time, but don't give up before the breakthrough. A lot of people give up way too soon. And a lot of people give up right before the breakthrough. And what happens is, it looks like this. If you want the results, like, you got to keep going, right? What happens is people start, stop. And then they're like, I'm not getting results. You keep stopping. You keep stopping before the result. So remember, momentum is rolling is in motion. Okay, but if you stop, then we're either the momentum is going to do this, right? Or you stalled out. And now we have to get that momentum back. Okay, we got to get the motion back. Like, it's like a snowball rolling down a hill, right? We got to get the momentum back. Like, so if you start, stop. It's like, I never drove stick shift by myself. I got the little like stick shift controls on my steering wheel. Don't judge me. All right, sometimes I do that. But I never, and I think I can actually like but I never been doing that by myself. I've driven a stick shift, but I've never been in a car by myself because I would just stall out. I know. I've always thought it was cool though. Always wanted to learn how to drive one. Always said I would have people tell me they would teach me. I haven't done it yet. Okay. But it's still kind of like that. You get where I'm going with this, right? The start, stop. It's kind of like that. Stop giving up, stop restarting, stop starting over. You have to push through the resistance. You have to push through the discomfort. Like that's like, it's like a test. It's like, do you really want this? Right? Like I feel like every time there's a level up, the reason life starts to feel discombobulated is because there's a testing. There's like it's like a question, right? Like, do you really want it? And it's not that the harder it is, the more I want it. It's just breaking through that old program, that old operating system. It's just what it is, because we want to return to safety, especially our egos, our fragile egos want to return to safety constantly. Your ego's job is to protect you. That's it. If it's what you're doing and to keep you alive, that's it. Protect you, keep you alive. If what you are currently doing is keeping you alive, ego is cool. Ego is like, yep, we're good right here. If you start to change stuff, ego starts freaking out. What are we doing? Why are we doing something different? You might die, right? Like there's all these emotions, all this fear that is happening because ego is freaking out. Like, no, we were fine. We were perfectly safe right over here. So when you start to change stuff, ego is like, let's go back over here where we were perfectly safe. All right. Like we don't want that though. We know we're going to be fine, right? We know we're going to be fine, but we know we got to do this thing. But we got to get past the fear and we got to push through. All right. So right before the breakthrough, a lot of people quit. Don't do that. The last leg of this, days 21 through 30, pre-sell before you build. Okay. Pre-sell before you build. Collect the data. Everything is data. Everything you're going to do in your business, all the identity shift stuff, all of it is data. Okay. So all you have to do is start putting your story out there, start telling your story, start asking people for their unbiased opinions. And unbiased means like it can't necessarily be, it's usually not. Let me say this, not that it can't be. It's usually not people who are closest to us. It's usually not family members and friends, right? Because they're going to be a little biased. They want to keep you safe too. All right. They mean very well, even if it doesn't always come across that way. So it's not always family members and friends, which means you're going to have to get online. Okay. Or you're going to have to start talking to people offline, online or offline. We need to talk to people about what it is that we're working on. So we're not perfecting in isolation. And that's also going to help you start to pre-sell and put yourself out there, right? Put your ideas out there. Because chances are, if you're perfecting in isolation, you've been doing it for a while, maybe some years. Maybe you've been writing the content for your course for 2 years. Okay. Or you've been planning and researching and all of those things. Again, perfecting a plan in your mind or even on paper by yourself though for the last few years or maybe even months or weeks, right? What's going to have you get your course out there is to pre-sell it. And what's going to help you pre-sell it is to start talking to people about it. All right. The first client is proof of concept. So your first peep in the seat, proof of concept. You rinse, repeat, you tweak. You rinse, repeat, you tweak. All right. And keeps getting better and better. Right. I'm so excited to be in the arena with you all. I hope this is super helpful. We are going to do next week are hot seats. So if you have questions, if you feel like you have questions about premium courses, or you are a coach, a consultant, maybe you have a side hustle, you're a C-suite exec, or you work in corporate currently, you have a 9-to-5, you're trying to get out, you're a creative person and you're just ready for something different, you know, you have more impact to make, come next Tuesday. Okay. We're going to be doing hot seats on next week. And so I want to be able, I'll pick 2 to 3 people. We'll pick 2 to 3 people during the live session. We'll coach you through all your questions about starting your premium course business, scaling your business, what topics should you teach, whatever it is that you are currently, whatever season you are currently in, just bring your questions. Okay. I'm more than happy to help coach you through it. And I'm really excited to be doing hot seats. I haven't done them in a while, so I'm excited about that. If you want some help with packaging your premium program, jumpfirstacademy.org. Okay. There's a free training over there. It takes maybe like 30 minutes or less, depending on how long you take to go through the content, but it's really fun. A lot of I've gotten a lot of positive feedback about how that training is set up. Kat's going to drop the link inside of the chat. Again, it's jumpfirstacademy.org. So you can head over there. You'll also find the link in the description as well. You can book a strategy session there also. And there are free resources and paid resources to help you get started. So it's totally up to you what resources you choose to help move you forward, but you can book your strategy session and get started at jumpfirstacademy.org. The other thing that I want to put here too is 9 to Thrive movement is open. So if you're somebody who is working a 9 to 5 currently, and you're looking for a way to get out of that situation, yes, I did call it a situation, right? But you're just ready. You're ready to leave corporate. You're ready to leave your job, 9 to 5. You're just ready to do something different, but you don't know like what that looks like or how it will be possible or where you should start. Join the 9 to Thrive movement. Okay, it's currently open. I believe the start date, Kat, correct me if I'm wrong, is it the 18th? I think it's the 18th of May, but Kat will drop that link inside of the description as well. Inside of the chat as well, and you'll see it in the description also. The 9 to Thrive movement is 5 days. You're going to sprint with me. I'm going to show you how to pre-sell your course. Okay, so we'll start like we talked about tonight. Sell it before you actually create it and before you build it. All right, get the feedback you need in order to do that. Join the 9 to Thrive movement. All right. That's all I have for you tonight. I really appreciate you being in the arena with me. Remember, the arena is not a comfortable place. It never, ever is. You're going to be visible. You're going to be vulnerable. You're going to make mistakes. And that's okay, because that is where your legacy is built. Okay. So it's where your story becomes somebody else's breakthrough. And the only question I guess left is, are you ready to step into the arena? Let's get it. We're back here Tuesday night, same time, okay, same place, 8 p.m. Eastern. Hit that like button, subscribe button, bell notifications so you know when I'm live. We'll be back here Tuesday night for episode 3. We're going deeper, and I want you there. If you got some value, again, hit the subscribe button. Send it to somebody else who needs some inspiration, and drop a comment. Let me know what landed for you from this episode, okay? Again, if you're ready to get started, 2 resources, jumpfirstacademy.org. There, you're going to find the mini training or join me inside the 9 to Thrive movement so we can start pre-selling your courses. All right, I'll see you next Tuesday. Same place, same time. I appreciate you. This is In the Arena with Dr. Sonia. I'll see you back here next week. Bye, y'all.